Welcome to At Mornington, Notes for Module B, Critical Study of Text. This slideshow is designed to help you annotate your copy of the poem. You will need several highlighters and pens before you continue. We'll start with a quick glossary. Take note of each of these words within the poem and their definition. They will help you to understand both the plot of the poem and the images created. In stanza 1, it is immediately apparent that this poem is telling a narrative. There is no rhyme scheme, as this is a stream of consciousness poem. The pronouns are very important. They show the focus on the individual. Here we can see the first person I repeated throughout the stanza. The motif of memory also begins in the first line of the poem with "they told me." This poem really focuses on memory transcending experience. The motif of water is also important. Water is connected both with life and with death in this poem. Simile, rolled like a doll, helps us understand the persona as small and helpless. The biblical allusion brings in that connection to nature and the divine experience, which is common to romantic poets. Here, "I could walk on water" is also alliterative, so the image is emphasized within the stanza. The next wave, the repetition continues to highlight this image of a child defying natural laws. In stanza 2, we begin to see first-person plural pronouns, we, which helps the reader be involved in the action, second-person possessive, your, third-person plural, their, and again, the first-person plural objective, us. These plurals are important because they control how the reader interacts with the persona, that is, the speaker of the poem. Biblical allusions again come through in the flood, which is also an example of the motif of water in this poem. Flood and born are an example of almost assonance, half assonance, if you like, and it's really as close as we get to rhyme in this poem. Assonance is the repetition of a vowel sound within a word. The simile, fugitive as light in a sea wet shell, doesn't refer to the kind of fugitives that break out of prison. It really means that it's fleeting. Fleeting as the light which dances over that opalescent inside of the shell. It's light imagery that continues through the poem. Alliteration among avenues of the dead creates emphasis of this ordered world of death. It is juxtaposed with the early childhood and middle age. Because of the focus on memory, stages of life are very important in this poem. In stanza 3, we need to focus on the shifting tenses. "This morning I saw in your garden" is of course in the past tense rather than the present. It is a very recent memory. We're also introduced to the parable of the pumpkins growing on the trellis. Gwen Harwood herself points out in the poem that this is a parable of herself. Parables typically, though, describe the spiritual. They are a simple story to explain a far more complex situation. Alliteration, "to flourish the fruits," again highlights nature within this parable. Gwen Harwood then compares herself to the pumpkins in an example of cremamorphism. Cremamorphism involves attributing non-human qualities and non-animal qualities, so that is plants and inanimate objects, to a human or an animal. Okay? Stanza 4 includes a dream sequence, and I believe this stanza includes some errors in your copy. You may wish to correct these. The most important error is, I think, that you are missing the indentation. This is a stylistic choice that's very important. It shows the reader what comprises the dream sequence. It shows the reader this break from reality, and it allows us to question the difference in reality between memory, in particular the deep memory of childhood, and this memory of a dream. Alliteration continues in this stanza, and we are, as does repetition, and we are introduced for the first time to direct dialogue. There is still some water left over. This is the persona's friend speaking directly to the persona. After this dream sequence, Harwood takes the opportunity to teach us something about life, to instruct us. We have one day, only one, but more than enough to refresh us. This is the persona's enlightenment. In stanza 5, following this enlightenment, the persona is no longer afraid of death, and we are back in the present tense and back in the graveyard. Here, the persona really focuses on death and uses a couple of euphemisms to describe death. The water bearing the persona away forever, and being seized at last, death coming to somebody very old. Metaphorical language is also used to describe life and perhaps the experience of death, the experience of life ending, the grinding race of dreams, pain and memories, love and grief. Gwen Harwood has used synecdoche in No Hand Will Save Me. Synecdoche means referring to a whole thing, in this case a hero, by just part of that thing, typically a characteristic part. Here, the hand that's reaching out. This is a self-referential image and refers back again to the father's arms, to the father who rescued her at the beach in one of her first memories. Similes are also used to create really quite distinctive images, to create images that are beautiful and, I feel, constructively complex.